to the Cosmetic Podcast.
This podcast amplifies the topics you want to hear about.
Cosmetic means being a person or thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
Globally minded and locally focused.
I'm Rodrigo Ross.
I'm Keith Benson.
So today we are talking about, our topic is shut up and dribble.
You know, when you say shut up, it ain't no nice way that you can say shut up.
It's really not.
It really calls somebody to be just a little irritated.
Little bit. So, and you know, I think in the context, so let me give some context. There was a news program correspondent who was reacting to some activism that a sports person was doing, right? They were being vocal about some things that in the social justice space that they felt was unfair. And this news activist just really felt like you don't have the space or the place or the influence to talk about any of that. All you should do is shut up and dribble. And I patently disagree with that. I think athletes enjoy a tremendous amount of popularity, and they are always vehicles for transmitting, you know, values or behaviors, fair play, teamwork. Like, they have a certain level of celebrity that whether you like it or not, good, bad, or different, they're influential.
And sports, though, in itself has had that influence over time. So sports has been like this social glue that's bonded the country together in many different ways.
Right? America's sport.
Pastime.
Right? Exactly. Football. The best time to go to the mall because nobody's there and everybody's playing football.
Yeah, I'm a little irritated if I have to go out to the store on Sunday because I like to sit down and watch me a little football.
What?
And see, then on Saturday night, I'm sitting down there watching college football.
What?
Because some of the biggest games are on at that time.
This is the best time to go to the mall. I get good parking spaces. There's no one in the stores. It's a beautiful place to be.
Right. But we're going to talk about the impact of what sports are on America.
Not going to the mall, that's another podcast.
Yes.
Alrighty then.
And so when we think about sports, though, and we think about athletes and their platform that they have, they're able, especially when you get to a certain level, you're able to reach millions.
Yes.
And not just within your city, not just within your state, not just within your country, but the whole
globally.
World.
Absolutely.
I think about a couple of athletes around mental health. I think about Michael Phelps and Kevin Love. Mm-hmm. Both of them came to a place in their life that they had to deal with mental health issues. Yeah. To a place that they came out publicly. And at first they held back because they thought they were going to get shame thrown their way. Yeah. And no, because so many people hold back and they don't think that they can talk about this. And so now what I see Michael Phelps on TV, and he has a new program, I believe it's an app that he gets on TV and talks about, where if you're having or you're struggling with mental health, you can go into this app and you can get support, you can get help. I mean, that's just so powerful.
That is, I mean, they're changing the quote unquote game. So how did that there? They change it. But they're also addressing the stigma, right? Like, it is well known that the stigma sometimes around mental health and your mental health can really be overpowering for some folks, and they won't get the help they need.
And so when I think about Kevin Love walked out of a game.
Wow.
And everybody was like, well, what is going on? And and when you a superstar like he was at that time, right there, coming off of a championship, it's like, dude, we need you on the court. You know, what's happening with you? But no, man, this guy was having a panic attack in the middle of a game.
Wow.
And so he had to step off the court, and he had to deal with that right there. And then he came out publicly to let people know. He wrote this incredible op-ed in the paper that talked about his story and the things that he's experiencing. And he brought this light to shine on mental health, whereas the people who are looking up to him now, they can see that, man, this superstar, so to speak, has spoken out about that he's dealt with this. He's dealing with this in this public format. And now I have the influence I have, of my life now to be able to share that with somebody.
That's amazing. I mean, in medically speaking, even CTE, right? Mm-hmm. So my baby boy, my sweet potato baby boy, right? He plays football, and I am constantly living in a state of fear about CTE. CTE is chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and basically this is this swelling of the brain that happens happens when you're constantly having these hits and stuff like that. And this can happen. CTE can happen to someone like if they were in a car accident and bam, they got into some traumatic experience. But the prolonged, consistent, hits that you get in football really exacerbates this disease. And a study from the American Medical Association in 2017, they went and they studied the brains of 202 deceased former football players. 177 of them were diagnosed with CTE.
Yeah.
They replicated the study 2 years later with current alive football players. Tested 111 of them. 110 were diagnosed with CTE. And since then, there has been this flourish, this onslaught of studies and policies and practices. And as a parent, I feel it with my own child because the regulations around what kind of helmets and what the helmets have to have and what happens if there's a concussion or a suspected concussion. All of these safety measures are in place now because athletes were really bold enough to talk about the struggles they were having during and after their football years because of CTE.
And so what's happened there is that's trickled down.
Yeah.
Right? So college players are looking at that now also.
Absolutely.
You have young people down at your high school level are looking at that. And so because they addressed that right there at this professional level,
right,
now changes are happening all the way down.
Absolutely.
These safety protocols are being put in place. So it's going from, whereas back in my day, man, you just bang, bang.
Way back?
Just a few years ago.
Not two ways, just one way?
Just one way.
Okay, then.
And we were used to just go head at it regardless. There was no such thing as take water breaks.
You didn't drink water?
No, that was the punishment.
What?
We ain't stopping until you all. And so now those days are gone. I mean, now, so water bottles are on the sideline. The players can go and get water anytime.
Yeah.
They're not hidden as much. Even from the professional level, there's a certain amount of time, a short amount of time that you can go full pads. And so that's trickled down all the way down to the recreation league also. And so it's a powerful, that's a powerful force right now that is not only being looked at in football, but is looked at in basketball, is looked at it in soccer.
Yeah.
You think about soccer, many people think that people just out there kicking a ball, but in soccer, they body up just as much as football.
Right, and they don't have the pads and stuff. You're right, they don't have the benefits of gear.
I think about in the medical space, I think about Magic Johnson.
Yes.
Those who don't know Magic Johnson played with the Los Angeles Lakers. In my opinion, the best point guard to ever play the game.
Okay.
But, that can be some argument and debate right there.
Yeah.
But not very much. But I remember back in, I believe it was 1991, I was in the cafeteria and it came on the speaker.
The cafeteria, what, college?
In college.
Well, I'm doing the math.
Don't do the math on that. I should have said that. But it came over that Magic Johnson has HIV.
Yeah.
And at that time, AIDS was a death sentence.
Yes.
So when you said HIV, you were basically saying AIDS at the same time because people were not educated on that back then. And everybody thought that Magic was going to die.
Yeah.
But Magic had this platform now that he shifted gears to say, let me be a voice for those who have HIV. And so he's still thriving today.
Absolutely.
And he's helped to make medicine more affordable for those who have HIV.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's just had this huge platform for many years and still continues to be a strong voice for HIV.
Yeah, I remember when that announcement was made. A couple of things. First of all, I was not in college. I remember being a young kid and my mom was devastated. And I remember thinking, since when did my mother become a sports athlete? I think she was a Magic athlete, not a sports athlete, because my dad looked a little perturbed in the corner. But that's another podcast. But I do remember the impact of that, right? Like, people were just so nervous and so scared. And up until that point, many other people had HIV or AIDS, but it was so much that was not known. But when he had it, this star athlete, this person that has so much influence and reach, it was devastating. I remember that as a kid.
And so when I think about sports in the space of civil rights and social justice, I mean, sports again has this huge force over this space right here, and athletes have an influence in many different areas. I think about in schools, I think about in communities. When athletes speak up, it really matters. You know, I remember back in college where we had the opportunity to be able to go out and talk to young kids in school. And
you felt fancy?
I just a little bit.
Okay then.
At first it was just like, oh, it's my duty to go see these kids. But man, when you see these kids, they, got the big eyes, and we're talking to like kindergartners and first graders, and they're looking up at us like we're giants.
Did you sign autographs?
You know what?
Oh,
now hold on, because when we went out, the school created us like these little player cards, and so it had our face. No. And so like
you still got a card?
I do.
I want to see this card.
I do.
I want to see this card.
But we were able to pass those out, and we were able to sign it like we were somebody fancy or something. And the kids were just, they was gathering around you like, I want one. But man, it's like for me, that became my calling to work with young people.
Wow.
So why am I sitting here today at the YMCA? It's because of experiences like that that I knew what my calling was. When I think about this whole social justice space, I think about Jackie Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Jackie Robinson, America's first professional baseball player to play in the major leagues. I mean, all that he had to go through back then just to play, and he was getting a lot of shine back there, and even his own teammates, began to grapple with him a little bit about that. But this man couldn't even stay in the same hotel as his team.
Absolutely. I'm going to one-up you on that. So actually, right? So fun fact, I love a good fun fact.
Yes, ma'am.
Moses Walker, back in 1883, played for the Blue Stockings. Was actually one of the first African-American baseball players. So he was on the Blue Stockings, this team called the Blue Stockings, and they were to play the Chicago White Sox. But at the time of the game, the manager of the then White Sox said they were not going to play the Blue Stockings if they had an African-American player. And he stood his ground. Although he was injured, he wasn't even supposed to play in that game.
Wow.
But because that other manager said that, he stood his ground, and the manager of the Blue Stockings stood their ground, and he played in that game. Now, they put him in an outfield position, and usually he was a first baseman. But they did that, already, right, in 1883 in that social justice space. Like somewhere intuitively, Mr. Moses realized the power that he had, right, to convene and represent black folks at that time. And after that, they moved to a whole other different association. They joined the American Association the following year, and they played with a whole different set of teams. But that was a game changer even then, 1883.
Well, Oakland Raiders owner Al Davis, he refused during a preseason game in Mobile, Alabama as a protest against the state laws on segregation to play. And he's like, hey, look, if you all are not going to allow my players to stay in the same hotel, then you know what? We won't play.
And this is not anything new. Like across all of these different sports, right? So you have Muhammad Ali, right? And the statements that he made and how he used his sports stardom, and then he transitioned into he came from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. You have Lou Alcindor, who later became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and used his platform. You have the Olympians who at that medal ceremony raised the fist. You have the young phenom Osaka, who right now today is using her platform as an athlete to speak about her lived experience and social injustices. So this is not new. Athletes have really been wielding this power for a lot of years.
And going back to Al Davis, one of the things about him, it wasn't just like this one-time thing. It was also, he hired the second African-American football coach, and then he also hired the first female front office executive.
Wow.
So Al was about change. Now you look at those Raiders, if you're a Raider fan, they die hard.
They are.
They die hard.
You're right about that.
And they support it. So Al Davis did some amazing things in the NFL to be able to change things around.
Yeah, and it's going on today from, basketball players wearing T-shirts with different sayings and slogans to, protesting, to being in a bubble, to, I just saw the other day where where some NBA stars were wearing lace collars around their t-shirts in honor of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, all of them really understanding and leaning into, which is, I think, is a wonderful thing, leaning into the fact that they do have this influence and that they can help, change the fabric of this community towards value and justice and fair play.
And I think that at all levels, athletes have to know that they have a platform. I don't care if you're on the cross-country team in high school to the professional sports team. You have a certain audience that is eyeballing you on your game day. So if you're the cross-country runner, guess what? You got hundreds of people that are watching you run out there. So you got some eyes on you. If you are the tennis player, you have eyes on you. So how do you now use your platform for good?
So I will tell you, my oldest son is like experiencing that right now, right? Okay. So my other son, he plays basketball. And so he's going to college playing basketball on a scholarship. Woo woo!
Yes,
my shoe budget stays intact. I love it, right? And he was telling me over the course since he's been there, and he's just started here a couple of weeks ago because he's a freshman. From then until now, he's talking about they're doing these clinics with young kids, or they did something with some school kids, much like what you were explaining. But I really can tell that it is causing him to think differently about what he says and what he does and how he shows up and how he influences young people. Now, him too, I think he's feeling a little fancy. I hope they don't give him a little card to sign the way they gave you, because I don't really know what I'm going to do with him after that. But I am really excited about how it is really giving this young man the power, right? It's really helping him understand that, yes, you absolutely can influence things, and you absolutely have the right to kind of speak your truth.
And you got to. I mean, athletes, we are put in this bubble. I say we.
I heard it. I heard you say the we.
When you're going through that, you're in this bubble, and like you're on a slight pedestal.
I
mean, because
and there's no slight.
You're on a field, you're on a court, you're on a course, whatever it may be. Like, people are coming out, taking out time, a lot of time, just to see you. Maybe not you as an individual, but you as a team, a collective. But all eyes are on you, and it's that you have to take advantage, in my opinion. I think you have to take advantage of that platform to be able to share the hundreds or the thousands or the millions of people. You have to be able to share good news with them. And what's going on. And so I hope that those who are listening, can be able to share this with other young athletes that are out there, or maybe some professional athletes that you may know also, to take full advantage of the platform. And so thank you for listening to Cosmetic,
where our conversations are global,
globally minded, and locally focused.
We'd love to hear about some of the stuff that your favorite athletes are doing, or just some feedback. So check us out at ymcadallas.org/cosmetic.
And as always,
stay dynamic,
stay energized,
stay cosmetic.